Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden, and we're continuing on with part 2 of working in the front yard. What we're doing is we're getting it prepped for fall by doing a whole bunch of pruning and then also transplanting some perennials and adding some new winter annuals to the space. All right, so if you missed part 1, make sure you check that out. In part 1, we did a lot of work on pruning, especially a lot of these bushes up front, these hollies and some of the boxwoods as well. Really put up the space. We also cut back on the crepe myrtle, and then we did remove a few things such as super petunias. So let me show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so we ended up opening up this area right here. We removed a heuchera and we potted it up to go in the shade garden, and then we moved over a serendipity allium. So what we're going to do in this space is I'm actually going to transplant a bunch of foxglove from the backyard to this space. And these foxglove are grown from seed. And then in addition, once they're a little bit larger, I have a bunch more foxglove that I'm currently growing from seed that's going to fill in this space. Let me show you what that foxglove looks like. Okay, we're here in the backyard in one of the raised beds, and all of these right here that are beautiful and lush and gorgeous are foxglove that I grew from seed. They are all Dalmatian peach tones. They're about 2 feet tall, and these do bloom on their very first year. I started them from seed last summer, planted them into the ground in the fall, and then they gave me blooms this past spring, and they're doing really good, big, luscious, gorgeous. But I want to devote more of this bed to annual cut flowers. So we're going to go ahead and start by digging these up and getting them ready to transplant to the front. Okay, let me move up some of these to make it so we can see a little bit better. Okay. So basically what we're wanting to do is come in to these foxglove, and I'm just going to dig straight down at the base and then kind of maneuver around and try to pop these up. So here's the first one coming up. It's got a really big root system. There's one. 2. Oh man, these root systems are massive. It's a perennial, so that makes sense. What's it called? Okay, so got that cleared out, looking pretty good, and this will be nice to utilize this space for a bunch of hardy annuals that I'm going to be transplanting over here. So let me get these moved to the front and we'll get started. Okay, we're back here in this space. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by digging some holes in some different places to start adding in these foxglove. And they are perennials. They are poisonous. Every single aspect of them is poisonous. So if you have young children or animals that you're worried about, I highly suggest you do not plant these in your landscape. My children are older and my animals do not mess with them. So basically I'm going to come through one at a time, opening a hole, adding in some my plant tone fertilizer, and getting these planted. right, and then we want to make sure that everything gets watered in really, really well. Not expecting these to do anything for me right now, but I do want them to just work on growing roots and getting ready for the winter so that they can overwinter really well. Okay, we are back under here, under the crepe myrtle, and I'm wanting to remove these dusty miller. Now these do really well, they overwinter really well in my area. I am just wanting to go ahead and get some perennials in this exact same area going. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them all the way back. I'm not going to remove their root systems unless I run into them when I'm planting later. So we're just going to cut them back for now. Some of these might grow back during the winter. They're a hardy annual in my area. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out this calibrachoa here. This is just one plant in here. Did really, really well until we got to the brutal parts of the summer. Okay, I forgot to press record. Basically, I came in here and I planted a Texas rock rose. And I talked a little bit about how in the past, Texas rock rose has been on my list of I don't like it. But as I've learned more as a gardener, I come to appreciate its beauty for the hottest times of the year. It does really, really well. It's a native to this area. It is about 24 to 48 inches tall, 36 inches wide. It can spread. It drops little seedlings. I'll have little seedlings. They're very easy to pull up. They're just a little bit annoying. But I really am hoping that this area, which gets some really brutal sun during the summer, that this will be an area that thrives now with this beautiful pink rose. It does not do well as cut flower, but that's fine. But it is native for this area. Pollinators love it. I think it'll work really good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work right beside this area, and I have 3 purple asters that I want to tuck into my garden. Typically, I would cluster them all together, but I'm going to actually spread these out and spread this color out a little bit. Now, these asters I picked up from oh, we got some big old roots. I think that's the roots from the hibiscus. These asters I picked up from Lowe's, and these are perennial in this area. They're hardy to -30 to -40 degrees, non-hardy in zones 1 through 2. The average height is about 18 to 24 inches tall, but 18 to 24 inches wide. They do need proper moisture, but this bed gets really good moisture. And these are really great as a cut flower. This one doesn't really get tall enough to be a cut flower, this particular aster, but I do love its bold purple color. You can see coming to fruition right here. Let me go ahead and tuck in some fertilizer. So you can see this coming to fruition right here. And it's a really beautiful, bold, kind of blue purple color, which I think is really fun and something I don't actually have much of in my garden. So hold on, I'm going to pull a few of these zinnias up out of the way. So my thought was to put these in a couple of different places, but now that I'm kind of looking at it in regards to like the hibiscus that's over here, I'm thinking maybe I should do a trio, so maybe one here and one here. So I'll have like a big mound of purple in this area. I mean, that feels like a good plan. What do y'all think? I can bring some a little bit forward. If I remove this plant, bring one there. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pull this zinnia right here. And I'm going to move forward just a little bit here. I've been noticing some grubs in the soil, so I'm going to have to treat. Right, a nice hole there. add some fertilizer. Like I said, I've got these at Lowe's. I don't see a lot of asters sold in our area. Usually I've only ever seen it at Lowe's, a big box store, but especially nurseries, I haven't really seen it either. But if you've seen it, let me know. And these should grow together really nicely, forming a nice mound of blue-purple color. And these do like to bloom in the spring, but especially late summer into fall. This one, I believe, had a few broken branches on it. Must have dropped it or something. All right, those look good. Let's get those 4 new perennials watered in. Okay, one more thing I want to do is, in this container right here, I just pulled out some dead calibrachoa, and I wanted to go ahead and fill this in with some Tiny Tim alyssum. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the current roots in there. Okay. And alyssum can overwinter in my area if it has enough time to root in prior to your first frost and freeze. I grew all of this alyssum from seed. The variety is Tiny Tim. Okay, so we're gonna now do a little bit of a layering process here in this portion of the garden. I have lots of daffodil bulbs throughout this front garden, tons, and I do also love Dutch iris. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to layer in the Dutch iris into the ground, and then I'm going to plant a bunch of pansies on top of it. So I'll have winter color with the pansies. They do really great through the fall. They will root in and they will survive my winter. We've even had really rough cold weather and they still do great. And then they'll give me a beautiful spring, which will be awesome. And then later on in the later spring, I will get these Dutch bulbs. Will come up, this Dutch iris. And this is a mix, so it's white, blue, purple, and yellow. These are great for cut flowers. We're going to plant them at a depth of about 4 to 6 inches. They will grow to maybe, I would say, 18 to 24 inches, which is really nice. And these don't come back really consistently for me each year. They typically will come back sporadically for a couple of years and then not come back anymore after that. So they are something that I do have to replant over time. Oh my gosh, the soil is so moist. There's a lot of grass roots. So I'm just kind of digging in here a little bit because OMG. Whew, it's a lot of grass root in there. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and just start by loosening up all the soil around here, and any roots I'm seeing, I'm just going to start pulling out. It's practically impossible to get rid of all of the grass in here. It just isn't like a thing. There's some really wet parts. Makes me wonder if there's a leak. And planting iris bulbs is really easy. They're not very big. And this is a Dutch iris. I'm not talking about bearded iris. This is Dutch iris. They're not really big, so they're really easy to work down into the soil. And like I said, these are planted at about a depth of 4 to 6 inches each. So I'm just going to come in, space them out. In this, I have about 20 bulbs for this space. which I think will work out really well. And now that I've got them spaced out, I'll just use my hori-hori knife, and it's very easy to tell the top of the bulb from the bottom of the bulb. I'll put a picture up so you can see what that kind of looks like, and then I'll just use my knife to kind of tuck them down into place. Okay, next in this area, I have a bunch of pansies that I picked up from Callaway's. This variety is called Matrix. I went through and picked the ones I wanted, some that have a beautiful kind of like burgundy purple white vibe, and then these other ones that are all purple, dark blue purple with the light as well. And so what I'm going to do is I have purple and I have the burgundy. So the idea is I'm going to mix them all into this space. I am going to pack them pretty tightly into the space. I'm going to go ahead and remove each one from its container and kind of place it, put it in place on here. And then I'll come through with my knife. I'll just put a layer back here, and then I'll come through with the hori-hori knife and put them in. And I'm just mixing up the purple and the burgundy. I'm going to do a lot of purple and burgundy for the fall. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so what I'm also going to do is, instead of putting fertilizer into every hole, I'm just going to generally come across this. Just like that. And I'm trying not to go too deep with my knife, because remember, I've already got the bulbs under here, and I want to make sure not to disturb them if I can. And I pack my pansies and my violas pretty tight, in that they don't grow a whole lot in size before winter hits. Now, come spring, these plants will get bigger. They'll get to maybe 10 inches to 12 inches tall, which is awesome. But at this point, they'll stay pretty much this size for now. So I want to go ahead and pack them in pretty good. Okay, and since I have a few more, I'm going to have them spill over into this space over here. I am going to be putting a lot more violas and pansies that I grew myself over this way too. And I do want to be careful digging here, because I do have daffodil bulbs in front here. Okay, it feels good to wrap up this project. I do think I need to add some mulch here. This area felt really wet. I had my husband turn on the front drip lines. I didn't see anything leaking. I think I have a separate drip lines run to the scaevola right here, and with an adjustable emitter. I think that maybe that was letting out too much water and it was just soaking this area, so I did turn that down some. But I need to keep an eye on this area. I don't ever remember it being this moist in the past. Now, we have had a lot of rain, and maybe this area has just stayed super moist due to that. I don't know. It seems a little too wet, in my opinion. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that and see if I need to make any adjustments on that. I like to do this process where I do the bulbs first, and then I go through and I put my bedding plants on top for the winter. And this will give them plenty of time to get established before it starts getting really cold here, which is exactly what pansies and violas need. They need at least 4 weeks, if not 6 weeks, to establish in your gardens prior to a really hard freeze. A light frost, they'll probably be okay, but I'm talking like a hard freeze. And then we're going to continue adding more violas and pansies over time. All right, I'm really excited to see what these foxglove end up doing in this space. They're going to be back there in that corner. It's going to be really nice to see the brightness of that apricot color kind of poking out among the deeper tones of that shaded area. I think it'll be really nice. Also excited to see how well those asters and that Texas rock rose do in their new home as well. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this two-part series, just seeing me do some of the preparation for the fall with the pruning and then getting some more stuff planted before our winter temperatures hit, which is very exciting. All right, as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know my latest videos are up, and be sure to check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.